Yeah, that's cool. Just from my own experience, I've seen some kids do dramatic turnarounds, so that's exciting to hear. Do I have to be careful with people when I'm putting them on zeolite? Should I be giving them some type of other supplement? Because I'm looking at DMSA, DMPS, EDTA, other chelating agents, NDF, I think is out there. And some of the people are saying, oh man, you really need to add more minerals to these people's lives. With zeolites, do you have that same issue?
No, as a matter of fact, the way that zeolite works is based on its negative charge.
Uh-huh.
So what we do is we preload the zeolite with calcium.
Mm-hmm.
So when it goes to your body, it has an affinity, and I believe it's based on the atomic weight for the heavy metals. So it will only swap that calcium out. It's not going to want calcium for calcium. It's not going to even take potassium for calcium. It's not going to take anything but something that's better, that it's going to like better, and that's the heavy metal. So it will not take anything out that's of benefit because of the way we've set it up.
Okay, that's way cool. Do you ever load it with magnesium?
No, calcium seems to be the best thing. Sometimes potassium, but most of the time it's calcium. Because what happens is in nature, they're either calcium sodium aluminosilicates or potassium sodium aluminosilicates. So they actually come in nature with one of those as the preference based on where they're mined from, and then we just reload them based on what they were.
Okay.
So ours happens to be a calcium sodium aluminosilicate, so that's what we stick with.
Okay.
That's a aluminol. What is aluminol? Silicate.
Aluminol. And this is one of those things that people get concerned about.
Yeah, aluminum, of course.
Right.
Right. I'm already concerned.
Okay.
I'm concerned.
All right. Well, here's how I explain it.
All right.
There's a reason why zeolite. So zeolite doesn't only work because it detoxifies, but it also balances the pH because it's an alkaline mineral, and it's that alumino part of the silicate that makes it alkaline. But the same way that zeolite doesn't break down, it goes into the body. The compound remains intact. It does its job, and it's out of the body within 6 to 7 hours.
So it doesn't hang around.
But it's the same way. The compound never breaks down. So when you drink water, I believe that you're not afraid of the hydrogen in there, because the compound of water remains intact in our body. We don't have to worry about the hydrogen and the molecules of oxygen. It remains an H2O in our body. Zeolite is the same thing. It remains a sodium aluminosilicate in the body, and the only thing that is swapped out is the calcium for the heavy metals and toxins. So there is no concern with the structure of the zeolite ever breaking down. It remains intact.
Mind you, you're suggesting that people are drinking 8 glasses of water a day, so they're not just letting it sit around either. So they're drinking water as well.
Right.
Right.
When you're saying heavy metals, what heavy metals are there, and do they come out sequentially?
That's a good question. The heavy metals that we know it has an affinity for is cadmium, lead, mercury, arsenic. Cadmium, lead, mercury, arsenic. I'm trying to think. There's one more.
About aluminum.
Yeah, aluminum actually as well. So those are the affinity. Mostly, I think its first attraction is lead, and then mercury and arsenic.
So it's
and then cadmium.
So it's good to say get the lead out. Is that right?
Where are we getting the lead from? Can you share it with the folks? Where are we getting lead?
Lead is everywhere. I mean, there is lead naturally in the environment, but there's lead in paint.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen lead in toys from China. I mean, there's always a concern with this lead issue popping up where they didn't know it was. So lead is one of those things that just seems to be everywhere. It's in our drinking water. That's one of the things, most water treatment plants or environmental agencies are testing for.
I think the joints of the pipelines are soldered together with lead. Isn't that what we found?
Yeah, actually,
out?
there's a friend of ours who was he's the city traffic engineer, and one of the water mains broke here in Monterey. And what we found was that every 20 feet they used lead solder as a sealer. So from the water mains, it's probably 6-7 miles. So, it's every 20 feet. I think we've counted up about 580 hits of lead every time the water's going through.
It's not just for Monterey. This is what they use to seal.
Yeah, they used lead solder up until the 1980s for these water mains. So it's in our municipal water supplies, which was not so good news for us.
Yeah.
So does it come out sequentially, though? Is it like it gets loaded with lead for a few days, and then it gets loaded with mercury for a few days, and then it gets loaded with arsenic for a few days, kind of like a railroad train?
It's a combo of everything.
Yeah, no, it's whatever it's coming in contact with. And, the other thing people also ask, which I think this is important to hit, because you have some really intelligent people out there that are saying, well, now, wait a second. There are some metals in our body that are actually beneficial.
They're helpful.
So, what happens with that? And we get that question every once in a while. So what I do want to address that, and what happens in our body is that any of the elemental, the metal elements that our body will utilize are basically our body, in order to utilize it, encapsulates it in an amino acid. And anything that's already encapsulated in an amino acid that for our body to use will not be taken in by the zeolite. So it's really the excess metals that are not being utilized by the body that are being taken out by the zeolite.
That's the ones that are hanging out.
For people to understand.
Cool. So it's actually metals that are hanging out in areas they shouldn't be anyway.
Exactly. That are being stored in the cells because the body's not utilizing it. And guess what? When it's stored in the cells, it doesn't allow the vitamins and nutrients that we need to be absorbed.
Interesting. It's like it's taking its place. Like,
absolutely.
Isn't that fascinating? Absolutely. And so that means,
which is why they found they did some animal studies, and they found that they had, I think that there was one specific one that they did with sows, and they had one group of them that took zeolite and then one that didn't, and they were fed the same exact diet. And the ones that had the zeolite had much greater and leaner muscle mass than the ones that did not have the zeolite, which showed that with the zeolite you were getting much more an efficient absorption of the vitamins and nutrients in the diet, which was very, very important.
So I'm essentially going to look like I'm a weightlifter after I'm done taking all my zeolites? Is that what you're saying? I like this. I really like this.
I want to read this because I'm an herbalist, and when the store is presented by the Health and Water Store, but when I was there, I had a lot of guys and women come in that would have toenail problems and nail problems, funguses. But this is a testimonial from using this zeolite, and it says, I have had a fungal infection in my toenails for over 39 years and tried many natural products. Taking zeolite, there is a noticeable difference in my toenails. I'm very pleased on how this product is working in my body. Of course, the byproduct of the heavy metals being eliminated is also terrific. And this is from Brian Larry. He's from L.A., California. And I'm just wondering, that's how in the world does it do that?
Yeah, I mean, what we believe, what they saw in a lot of the studies was that it does have antifungal properties. It's an amazing mineral, but some of the things were not studied directly to suggest how the functionality works. They just know that it works. And yeah, I mean that's
I'm just
the things with natural minerals. A lot of specific scientific studies are not done, because unlike pharmaceuticals that have millions and billions of dollars for them to do studies on, it has to really pique someone's specific interest to be able to put money into a specific study like that.
It's really interesting with the kids that we see is when the nutrition is flooded in the body, the toxins leave, but yet we're using modalities to be able to make them leave. They're just not going to up and go by themselves. And then, but in this situation, you don't. Is it just one of many things you need to do? Like, do you need to clean up your environment as well? Because this is what we have the parents do.
I mean, like anything else, when people look to lose weight, it's not, well, take this magic pill and, everything's going to be all right. I mean, there's things you need to do if you're losing weight.
I want that pill.
Exercise, diet. So the same type of thing with detoxification. You have to, look at what's around you and what we're being exposed to and do the same type of thing. So you can't depend on Zeolite to do everything for you. While it's going to help and assist and make things function better, you need to take a look at around you and see, the chemicals and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Quiz question. You had mentioned some of the toxins that it pulls out. What kind of toxins does it seem to actually pull out?
For some reason, it works a lot on a lot of different pesticides. That's one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, that's
huge. They showed DDT and things like that. Another aspect of zeolite that we haven't touched on that I think is also very important, and I did mention a little bit that it's an alkaline mineral,
right,
is that it balances the pH in the body. And I wanted to go a little bit into that about why that's so important as well, because we've been talking about detoxification, but zeolite does something else which is very important. Our bodies are very, very finely tuned machines. And when your pH is out of balance, they are not functioning the way that they should be. None of your systems are, and I'm going to explain that a little bit. I like to use the example of a pool, okay? When you see a pool that has the pH out of balance, you know what it looks like?
Usually it's green, right?
Right, it's green. You got all kinds of things growing in it.
It's an ecosystem.
And our bodies are mostly water. So the same type of thing happens in our bodies when our pH is out of balance. So there's a reason why there's a lot of foreign cells issues coming up and popping up, and I'm saying that on purpose because I'm not allowed to use the C word.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it has to do with the fact that most of our diets are acidic. Stress causes acidity in our bodies. So foreign cells thrive in an acidic environment, and they cannot survive in a balanced pH. So this really fine machine of our bodies, when you can put everything back into balance, all of your systems are going to function the way they were meant to be. Your immune system is going to be boosted, and oh yeah, by the way, it's also going to be boosted because of the detoxification. So these are the type of things that the zeolite can do as a whole. So it's not just doing one thing, it's doing multiple things to really boost your immune system and make your body function more efficiently and a lot healthier in general.
So it's got a three-dimensional aspect to its outworkings.